Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review for you. Going to talk about the 2015 film, A Christmas Horror Story. I've literally owned this movie for years and never watched it. I bought it, I think it was on sale at like Best Buy back in the day when they used to sell movies. Remember that? Anyway, it's a 2015 anthology horror movie for Christmas using multiple directors and multiple writers to come up with a very entertaining flick. May not be the instant classic that Krampus or the movie it more relates to is Trick or Treat. It's not quite the classic that those are, but there's some really good ideas in here and they're pulled off really well. Make no mistake about it, this is a horror movie. Yeah, it takes place at Christmas, and it may start as some of these typical, Krampus-type movies start, because I can't think of too many Christmas horror movies. But each of the four stories definitely is more on the horror vein. There's kind of a zombie story. There's kind of a shape-changer story. There's kind of a, well, you get the idea. Ghost story, if you will. Each... I guess I would call it uneven, but in the end, it makes up for any things that it lacks. You have William Shatner as a disc jockey kind of framing the whole thing. He's Dangerous Dan. He hosts Christmas. He's talking to people on and off camera. He's mixing eggnog with liquor. He gets a little more schnoz through the movie. He probably was filmed in real time and just had a blast doing this, but he really isn't in it a whole much. As far as the other actors go, there's quite a few people you recognize from things you may not know their names. A lot of Canadian actors and actresses, that kind of thing. The directors have worked on some other things, including Splice and Ginger Snaps, which I really, really enjoyed both of those films. So like I said, there's four stories, but instead of the stories one and then another and another, like a creep show, it's all blended together. And sometimes how the stories play off each other is quite humorous. That is most of the humor you get out of this, and the over-the-top gore. Some of the characterizations are stereotypical. The quote-unquote, pardon my French, asshole family visiting grandma and gets kicked out of the house because the kids are bad. There's a lot of stereotypes and a lot of overacting and hammy kind of stuff that happens. But again, when everything is over, it kind of all makes sense how everything played out. I don't want to get into any spoilers. I got to say kudos to some of the people, especially the Changeling story. I thought everybody in that one acted, that was probably one of the stronger aspects of the show. A lot of practical effects, very little, if any, CG. Everything looks really great. They go to some darker places in especially the ghost story that I didn't expect them to go. The whole thing was a little bit darker than I expected them to go. As an anthology movie from 2015 that didn't have much of a budget, it's sitting about 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, only has about 23 or 24 reviews. But most people said, for what it is, it's great. Like I said, it's not exactly on the cover. It says instant classic. I don't know that it's Krampus and I'm going to watch it every single year. But if you're in the mood for something more seriously horror than Krampus, because Krampus pulls back on what I would consider some of the horror elements to give you a more rounded holiday experience. This one doubles down on the whole Christmas thing, but really beats you over the head with the fact that this is really a horror movie. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It got a limited theatrical release back in 2015, and then it made it on video. I picked it up on Blu-ray. It's still available, $15-20, give or take. I would like a sequel. I think they could do more with the story and some of the characters that survived into what would be a sequel flick. All in all, taken as a whole, I highly recommend the film. May not be your favorite Christmas horror movie, but there aren't that many of them, and give this one a try if you think you want to see some blood and dismemberment during the holidays. The Christmas story and dealing with the elves, I didn't see that coming, thought that was pretty inspired. And the whole, the poster is a showdown between Santa Claus and Krampus. Yeah, that happens, and it's actually pretty good. Practical effects, real actors and prosthetics, they went for it, and they don't always hit it out of the park, but they do swing for the fences a lot, and they did hit a lot of home runs. It was a quite entertaining movie and a surprise on Christmas. A Christmas Horror Story is available now. It was a 2015 release. It's available on Blu-ray and several streaming services. I'm Scott. I'm ROCKFILE. Hope you had a great holiday season and you enjoy this horror flick that somehow sat on a shelf forever and I never watched it. Next up, we'll be reviewing a kind of an art film, The Addiction. Get ready for that next on ROCKFILE's podcast. Thanks for listening and have a spectacular day.